Hello all, welcome back to Bob Mac 3D. I'm Brad and today's project is painting an ASU 85. This ASU 85 is from our VDV Kickstarter, but is also available in our store at bobmac3d.com. My goal for the project today is get the core paint on the vehicle itself. And by core paint, I mean basically bring it up to the point where you could weather the model. So at the end of this project, this model will be ready to put on the game table just like it is. It'll be all set. But if you wanted to take it to the next level, it will then be ready to be weathered, right? Add some chip marks, some mud to it, some fun stuff like that, but certainly will be ready for the game table. Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you won't miss any of our future videos. And now, without further ado, let's get to painting. For this project, I've broken it down into steps, and I've listed them out here, and you can read through them, of course. I don't have to read them to you. But the core idea here is to start with a really dark base and then lighten the colors up as I go, painting over what was done before, but not covering as much. I use a set of Ammo of MIG paints that are designed to do exactly this. They have a dark shadow, they have a dark base, they have a base color, a highlight, and then a higher, lighter highlight. And I use these paints in this order to paint the model. And hopefully you'll see how the model then really comes to life using these different colors to go from a dark shadow to a bright. Let's get started. I'm going to skip the first step, which is priming, because you've probably seen priming before. It's not very exciting. And I'm going to go right to painting the tracks black. I like to paint my tracks black because then it makes it easy to do a track wash later on, put a little paint on them. I don't like to spend a lot of time on my tracks, but enough to make them look good. So here I am just grabbing a black paint, putting in the airbrush and hitting the tracks with black. I do them solid black. Paint everything you can black, and then we'll come back later and do some color to them and some highlights. For the next color, I use the dark base color. I'm going to do the entire model. It's important in this step that you get every crack and crevice. You do not want any of the primer to show through. So take your time, cover the model evenly and with nice coats, and make sure nothing's showing through. And that's all it is for this step. Now for this step, we're going to use the dark base color, and we're basically going to cover a majority of the model like we did in the previous step, but not 100%. We're going to cover, let's say, 90% of the model. We're going to leave the darkest cracks and crevices that really dark color. We want a contrast between this layer and the last one, but not too much. We want to leave just enough shadow in there to give us depth in our model, but not enough to make it a real contrast. In this step, we are painting with the base color. And the base color is going to cover a majority of the model, but you are going to leave where there are some dark areas and recesses. I usually start painting the flat parts first, the hatches, the top of the tank, if there's a turret, I'd do the turret, the forward slope, the flat sides. So all the flat areas would be this color, but then I leave all the places where I think there would be shadows or dark areas around the hatches or lower down on the hull or anywhere where two plates meet, things like that. When you do this, you'll start to see the model really come to life. In this step, we're going to do a highlight. But before we get going on that, I wanted to take a moment and look at the vehicle so you can see where the shadows are starting to develop and where the flat areas are painted with the core color. This is a good example of what you should be looking at the end of the last step. Now let's get to highlighting. Highlighting is you're going to basically put the highlight color on all the big flat areas of the vehicle. This should make the vehicle really pop, but you definitely want to leave a lot of the base color alone. So just try to hit the flat, obviously highlightable areas. In this step, I'm going to do a second highlight. Now, I don't always do this, but for this vehicle, because it didn't have a turret, I thought it might be nice to highlight again with a little bit lighter of a color, the top plate, the top hatches, to give it just a little bit more depth to the paint. Here, when you're doing a second highlight, just focus on the spots that the sun has been hitting for a long time. Top of the hatches, top of the roof, top of the plating. And don't go overboard with this at all. It'll be a little too much if you obviously put too much down. All right, now we are done with all of the base colors, right? All the way the gradation from dark to light, we're finished. So here I will paint all the details. This is the canvas around the gun. This is the tools, any kind of extra stuff that's on the vehicle. Now, to be honest, I don't worry about color too much at this point. Brown tools, a tan, tarp, whatever feels appropriate, I'll put paint on it. But it does make the model stand out, so it is important to do this step. Anything to offset the green color is important. So our next step is a gloss coat. Before we do a pin wash, we need a gloss coat to protect everything we've done. Now I've kind of stopped the image on the screen so you can take a look at the vehicle where it is right now. We have all the base colors done. We have all of the details done. So the tank is really starting to take shape and look pretty good at this point. But take a look at it now, and then we'll come back after the pin wash and look at it again. Now, once we have the gloss coat done and my painting is protected, I'm now going to do a pin wash. And I use a particular wash. I use the Ammo of MIG dark brown wash for green vehicles. I really like this pin wash. It goes on very well. The color is kind of brownish, so it helps make everything stand out. The key to pin washing is not to cover the model with the wash, but just take the tip of a loaded brush and hit it in certain spaces where you want the wash to go. This is all the cracks and crevices around any kind of latches or hatches, anywhere there's some texture or you want a shadow for the vehicle is where you should put this wash. As you can see here, I'm touching all of the corners of all the places I want the wash to go. The gloss coat will help with this, and the capillary effect of the wash will then spread out into the areas that you want. The real goal here is to keep a lot of the wash off of all the paint that you just did and just put the wash in the areas that you want it to go. It's a long process typically. I don't really enjoy this part of it, but it's totally worth doing because the end result looks fantastic. Now it's time for the pin wash cleanup. Here you just want to take a wide brush, just make it damp with some mineral spirits, and then slowly just erase the part of the pin wash you don't like. So any place that you've put in too much or it leaked out onto a surface that it shouldn't be, just wipe it away. This process should be fairly easy. I do, however, wait an hour after I do the pin wash to do this. You want the pin wash to dry some before you start wiping away the pieces that you don't want. But once you've done this, the vehicle is pretty much done. And at this point, you're done. We've cleaned up the pin wash and everything is looking great. The only thing I'll do at the very, very end is put on a matte varnish. And this is to dull down the entire model, make it not so shiny, and protect all the painting I've done. After that, the model is really well done enough to put on a game table anywhere. In the next video, I'll do some weathering to it. I'll add some mud and some chips and some rust and fun stuff like that. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.